Okay, fantastic. So, good evening and welcome everyone to today's TOCI training session. We're so glad to have everyone here today, and really, it's always a joy to gather together as women who are committed to growing ourselves, growing in Christ, and also to thrive, lead, and nurture in every area that we find ourselves, to the areas God has entrusted to us. And today's session is particularly important because this is talking about parenting, talking about mothering, and it's one of the most critical areas God has entrusted to us. And it's especially meaningful, right? Because of how beautifully timed this is. I think we were just talking about that. We were supposed to have this a week or so ago. In fact, we've had to move it a couple of times, and it fell it fell on a day that is Children's Day. So I think it's just fantastically timed. Couldn't have worked any better. And I think it just is like, to me, it's like heaven, winking at
Yeah.
us and saying, yeah, I want you guys to do this. So as we're celebrating our children, celebrating their potential, their well-being, we're also celebrating, the responsibility and the privilege it is even to be mothering them, whether we're, you know, biological mothers or not, aunts, mentors, in any way that we're working with children, right? So, yeah, so it's fantastic that we're talking about this topic on a day such as this, because when we think about raising healthy children and building healthy homes, we quickly realize that children do not thrive on love alone. They do not
Yeah.
thrive on discipline alone either. True well-being is often born in the middle of this, in the balance between warmth and wisdom, compassion and connection, and nurturing and boundaries. So, we have no one else than our very own sister who we call Honey Mama, taking us on this topic of when love and discipline work together, supporting the well-being of mothers and children. You know that as Christian women, we're really navigating difficult realities. How do we love without enabling? How do we discipline without wounding? How do we raise
We've lost you. Check your.
disciplinarian? My
Okay.
head, anyway. Hope you can still hear me. I think the
Yes,
headset has
you're back.
moved.
Yes, you're
I'm
back.
back on. Okay, right. Because we want to talk about in the month of May, which is well-being and wellness month, and we think that is something that is very, very important. So tonight we're here to learn, to reflect, to ask questions. Ladies would love to have lots of questions.
Lost you again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're back now.
So my headset is switching. I don't know why it's doing that. It's switching between, so maybe anyway. I hope that it's pretty audible regardless. So let me just do the introduction so I get out of the way with my switching headset. Right. So our speaker for today is none other than Mrs. Onyinye Evans-Nwosu. She's all about protecting legacies, strengthening families, and building the future. I think that's the mic drop moment. Please send in the emojis. Just that alone, I think, tells us everything that we're going to learn
Yeah.
about today. So she's a
Exactly.
lawyer by day and a family counselor by heart. Through her initiative, Heart and Home, Onyinye is on a mission to improve the world from the inside out. Her work focuses on the family level, which is the most vital unit of the society, helping young people transition successfully into adulthood with clarity and purpose. With a wealth of lived experience in marriage and motherhood, she has mastered the high stakes balancing act of running a business and a flourishing home. For Onyinye, it's simple. When families thrive, society wins. A creative and the creator of the Love Action Words board games, she is married with four young adults. Ladies, please join me in welcoming our very own Honey Mama as she takes us on this super
Hello,
fantastic
sisters.
topic.
Very, very
Welcome,
lovely to
welcome,
have
welcome.
you here. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. But I think Onyinye Evans-Nwosu, Honey Mama would have just been enough. Thank you, sisters. Thank you for
We give
joining.
honor to whom honor is due.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for being here. And I'm hoping that this will be a time of reflection for us. And like we said earlier, it came at just at the right time. You know, God is a master planner. And also, when I was preparing this teaching, in course of my research, I came across a video. I don't know, some of you may have seen it. That's been making rounds. I don't know if it has gone well round enough in the internet. It's about a 21-year-old boy who stabbed his father to death in Abuja. And I was really horrified when I saw that video. So what I thought was, has he really come this far? What is really going on? So I needed to learn some facts or maybe any pieces of information around the internet on what is going on. So at the moment,
Please
investigation
let
is
me
still
just
going
jump in. 'Cause I apologize. 5 seconds, just to mention that we just want to run this for about 30 to 40 minutes in terms of your talk, and then we'd love to have questions. If you're okay
on.
with
Okay.
that, take questions on the back of that. So sisters, please put your questions in the chat. So I will go off now so that you're fully spotlighted. Yeah,
Okay.
fantastic. Please go ahead. Thank you.
All right. All right. So that is why this topic couldn't also have come at a very appropriate time when this whole story is buzzing everywhere. The teaching about parenting is as long as one has brought a child into this world, will have to be a lifelong student of parenting, because parenting actually is a lifelong course. It doesn't actually end, so it doesn't end. The moment you have brought a child into the world, even after they have gotten married, you will be there to support them. Even after they have become parents themselves, as long as you're alive, you're still going to be a parent. So that is why we at all times continue to learn about parenting. All right. So that is serving as an intro to today's topic. So we're talking about when love and discipline work together. All right. So I'll just go take a quick definition of what discipline is, even though we might have some ideas. So discipline is the practice of training ourselves to act in accordance with rules, routine, goals, even when we do not feel like it. So if you are to underline, that is a place to underline. It is the ability to choose what you want most over what you want now. So the good thing with discipline is, once you get into the tune of discipline, you will find yourself working seamlessly at the things you need to, you need to do, you need to achieve. You kind of become self-regulated at discipline. And maybe perhaps that is why, would I say, the devil fights us, to be disciplined human beings, either as a parent discipline a child or as an adult, because discipline now becomes a skill, becomes like a task that we need to, have to help us to achieve goals. So for many of us that grew up, discipline doesn't quite sound like what I have just defined. Discipline for us sounds like pure punishment. If we can remember, in our growing up days, when you hear parents say things like, I need to discipline you, they're probably thinking about flogging you or giving you some kind of punishment as a child. And sometimes that is why that word discipline sounds like a negative word in the hearing of a child. So to make discipline not sound as bad as it could seem, that is why the Bible advises that we need to discipline in love. Because in all honesty, just discipline without laced in love can look like wickedness. Okay. So today's topic, we are not only talking about love and discipline working together, we're also looking at how it can give mothers. Sis, please, can you highlight the topic and the slide? Can you make it a little bit bigger? I don't know if sisters are seeing it. Can you see are you seeing the slide boldly? Let me know. Please let me know. Okay. All right. So, okay, it's fine now. Thank you. So we're not only talking about love and discipline working together. We're also seeing how, like Sister said earlier, this is Mental Health Month. We're seeing how applying it in our lives, the life of our children, can support mothers' well-being, to support the well-being of mother and children. And you will know later why mother is chosen instead of saying parents. Okay, so we'll explain that later. Can I have the next slide, please? Thank you. Next slide. All right. Okay. All right. So the power of love and unity. Love is so important. I mean, we don't always I can't even explain what love means. Love is like a life wire that keeps every human being. Love is so important that God himself is love. Love, according to 2 Corinthians, is just where the definition of love, not the one that makes our heart beat tun 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 tun, even though some believes that also is part of it, the feelings that come from when you feel loved. But love already is a definition we as Christians already know the importance of it in our lives as people. God is love, full stop. So if you have love, if you understand how God operates, we already know what love is. So the power of love and unity together. So love always have to work whenever there is discipline. Otherwise, I said discipline will not sound favorable to anyone. And the Bible verse here is the Lord commands that we train up our children in the way they should go. Is in the book of Proverbs, so that when they grow, they will not depart from it. So if we train our children in the way they should go, supporting the mothers to have peace is what the result of discipline will be for us. So love without discipline sometimes can make children become entitled. Love without discipline can feel like overindulgence. It comes at a point where it happens where you could be buying your children a lot of things without realizing or without explaining why that thing is important at the time they should have it. It happens in a way that sometimes when they make demand, we do not have the urge or the courage to say no to them because we love them so much. We don't want to see them throw tantrum. We don't want to see them cry. So that is why discipline and love must work together. If I take, for example, you take your child out to somewhere where cars are sold, and because the car is looking very beautiful, and the child asks that you buy for him or her, a 14-year-old for example, because of the so much love you have for the child, and you can afford that car, you decide to buy the car out of the love you have for that child. You and I know that child will not be able to drive out with that car, and even if he's already driving that car, the child might end up having an accident. So that is the easiest way I can explain discipline when it comes to how much we love our children. There are several things children would want without knowing if that thing is fully good for them or not. So having discipline will help us to guide them with love in a way they will not feel rejected. Okay? In a way they won't feel rejected, or the way they won't feel humiliated. Because love helps them to, using love to lace discipline would make them feel secured emotionally. Okay, so love in discipline is something that parents must not do without. All right, so discipline creates structure. It creates structure in home. like having times of when to do things. Your child want to watch maybe his or her favorite cartoon from morning till night, and you know this is a child that has homework to do. They probably have school the next day, and they want to keep watching television until 12 midnight. And you know what that would happen to, what will happen to them is that they'll go to school and start sleeping, or they might be too tired to even get up in the morning for school. So that is where discipline come in. We do not let them, it creates boundary as to things they should be able to be doing at the time and what they shouldn't do. All right. So love and discipline must at all times work together. Please, let's move to the next slide. Let's move to the next slide, sis. Okay. So discipline should build structure, not fear. Now, earlier on, I said for many of us growing up, if we remember what discipline sounded like at home when we were growing, discipline sounded like when you did something wrong, you receive either 5 or 6 strokes of cane, right? Or you are punished and not allowed to go anywhere with your siblings when they were going. So discipline for us came with punishment that drove so much fear inside of us. And I would think this is why some parents, because of how they were disciplined growing up, many of them are at loss at how to apply discipline in the lives of their children. Because they have come to the point where they tell themselves that what my daddy or my mommy did to me growing up, I will never let any of my child go through that. So this means, it made many of them to be weak when it comes to disciplining their children. So discipline means teaching, it means correcting, it means guiding. So we know better now. It's for us to do it better as parents who are growing at the time where there's so much information, much more than our parents had in their own time. So discipline should create structure. It's not meant to create fear. This is how you know whether you're actually doing discipline right or not. And sometimes, if you see that your way of discipline is creating fear in your children, if you're that parent when you're back from work or back from wherever you go and everybody is running helter-skelter, you should know that it is time for you to change the way you have been disciplining your children. Or when they hear the horn of daddy's car, everybody takes off, start arranging everywhere, and then pretend to start reading. These are the kind of things we see when we say, when we remember how our parents disciplined us. So because discipline, the real discipline that is laced in love should focus on growth. Has that child moved from that thing that he or she was doing and moved to something better? You shouldn't focus on the mistake that children do. We don't keep talking about that thing they have done continuously. We have to focus on the growth, moving from that thing they have done to learning how to do it better. The real discipline should be consistent. Consistency helps children feel secured. So like I said earlier, it's not meant to create fear in children. By the time your children are afraid of you already, as a mother, or as a father, you just know that you need to retrieve your step. Because when you have created fear inside them, chances are that they will begin to hide things from you. You become that parents who they cannot come to when they have made mistake. You become that parents who things will be happening in the life of your children and you have no clue. It will make your children become better at pretending. They will begin to show you that version of themselves that they think you want to see. So with all of that, you won't know the kind of friends they keep. You won't know what they have been up to. They will become masters at pretending and showing you those type of, those good child or good girl or good boy behavior that they think you want to see. And that is not what we want. That's why we're having a teaching like this, explaining how important it is that discipline and love must go together. It should not be we should not create the structure of fear at home in the name of discipline. All right, let's have the next slide, please. Okay, love must back discipline. So it's still talking about the same thing over and over again. It's just about emphasis, okay? Laying emphasis on the fact that love and discipline love must back discipline. I said before that discipline without love does sound like wickedness, okay? So back to the story I started with earlier on. People have said so many things, that the boy, his father was a very rich man. In fact, he was named a billionaire, but he's the kind of person who believes that the children should suffer because he also suffered to get where he is. Now, why that is a good thing? Why it is a good thing? And because we want our children to learn resilience. We're always thinking we don't want to spoil our children. We don't want them to think that the world revolves around them. We want them to understand that they need to work hard to get things they want or things they need in life. At the same time, love and discipline is aimed at teaching how best to do these things, okay? The right way to do this thing. By when a child has done something wrong, we don't make them feel condemned. There's a way you talk to a child. Over time, not once, not twice, they begin to form things in their mind. They begin to make up their own mind that I'm sure my parents really, really do hate me. And they won't tell you this, but it is something they will decide in their mind. And then they will take their time and be watching how you probably treat their other siblings. Okay? You might not be doing this to all of your children. It might be to one particular child who has become a bit more difficult to handle in behavior. So backing love with discipline will help us to sit as parents and actually try to understand what the problem is with this particular child, and not depending on beating the child or punishing the child all the time. Try to sit with them to understand what is going on with them. Okay? So children can get up to a lot of naughty things. We know them. Children are still growing. Depending on the age the child is, their brain hasn't fully developed. A full adult's brain develops fully, I think, about age 21 or thereabouts. So, which means from age of infancy to that time, there's still a lot of things they do not know. If I cast my mind back at my 15, when I was 15 or 16, there were probably things I thought I knew all. I knew everything. Nobody must tell me anything. I know all of these things. But without realizing that the brain is still growing, there's still a lot to learn. So as children grow, we cannot communicate these things to them if we do not communicate it in love. This is what the Bible is teaching us. It's also teaching us when it says we should discipline children in love. So when children are behaving badly, some of those characters like telling lies, lies telling, or a child who picks things that does not belong to them, who is always angry. We as parents, what do? We need to, learn to separate the child's behavior from what the child had done. Okay. So an example of that would be, let me say, a child who did something wrong, who was meant to wash plates when he was meant to wash and didn't do it. And then the punishment could be, you need to take away something that really means something to the child. It's important that we always explain to them what they have done. Children do understand, okay? So, and this is a good thing between discipline and punishment. It is the difference between the punishment just aims at beating the child for what they have done or giving them something that will cause them pain, while discipline aims at explaining to the child what they have done. It could, it could apply anything that can deprive them something just for a little while until they get to that understanding of what they have done. But it's for us to explain to them, this is what you have done, and for doing something like this, this is what you have to do to pay for it. When you're done with this, you come back to it. We'll make them apologize, and next time we'll see that they do not do that same thing again. So expressing anger can only bring punishment. When we're angry, instead of taking our time to discipline children for what they have done, disciplining them in love, it will not teach them to grow from that thing. It won't teach them. They will not learn the importance of growing and not going back to doing that thing. You see some children saying, well, they will harden their heart and say, well, what will mommy do or what will daddy do? The highest thing is that he's going to flog me. And I will chase the cane, or I will chase whatever it is they need to do. But they will go ahead and do that thing that they want to do. All right. So this is us not understanding that our terms of discipline is no longer working. Our terms of discipline, which is punishment, is not effective in the growth of children, in a child's development. Is not effective. This was what most of our parents used, because that was what they knew at the time. So in this our time, children need to be taught boundary, and boundaries are things like act of care and not making them feel rejection simply because we want to set them right. Okay, let me have the next slide, please. Okay, so parenting require partnership. Parenting require partnership. Okay, so in a typical home, we have mommy and daddy. All right, so parents should work as in a united team. So what this means is that sometimes at home, one parent can become the soft one, while the other parents become the strict parent. All right. Parents need to understand their own personalities too first. All right. So because sometimes what makes you become the strict parent, the one that's find it very easy to apply the discipline, is because you are the strict ones as a person. All right. So sometimes this is a choice both parents will have to make from their own personality type, or make a choice who will be the soft parents and who will be the strict one. And while choosing this, you do not choose it. You should be careful not to be resentful of each other while doing this, because what happens is that the parents who is often the strict ones is the strict one. Children look at that one as the wicked parent, while the one who is soft is seen as a cool parent. But the importance of working together as a team is that it is both of you that know that this is a choice you have made. All right? It's a choice you have made, because both of you cannot be soft. Neither can both of you be hard or be too strict on the children. So if you make that choice among yourself to work together as a team, everything you're doing, the kids are seeing both of you as you're working together. Some children can be quite manipulative, to be honest. And when they discover that you are not working together as a team, they can work against you as parents. So why it is difficult when one parent is continuously the good one, the other parent is always the strict one. These things causes problem at home if the parents are not working together. All right, so parents on their own can discuss privately what the rules are between themselves, to discuss these things before they bring themselves to the children. And they also need to, when they come to see the children, they have to support each other publicly. Let the children know that what daddy said is also what I agree with. Daddy said, if you go out by 7, you must come back. If you go out, to a party or any outing with your friend to go and watch movie, you must be home by 7. Daddy is saying the same thing. Mommy is also saying the same thing. So showing united front as a parent is the best way discipline and love can work together. All right. And then as also parents, when you need to correct each other in any mistake you have made, you do not do it before the children. Okay. You do not do it before the children. You keep yourselves, you discuss or you correct yourself in whichever mistakes you think you have made before the kids privately before you come before them. So at some point, like I said earlier, one parent can be the strict one, the other will become the soft one. And sometimes you can also interchange. You can also interchange. What is important here is that we are working together as a team so that children will realize that whatever mommy says also goes with what daddy would say. Sometimes automatically they will even just know that once they know they are working together, children would most likely, apply that discipline that is in the family environment. Okay. So the importance of this working together as a team is to bring unity among the children and among every member of the family. Unity reduces confusion and manipulation. I have talked about it earlier, that some children can be very smart and want to manipulate parents and say, Daddy, mommy said we should go. She said we should come back by 8. And daddy will be surprised. But I have agreed with my wife that it must be by 7. Why will she now come and tell you people 8? They'll say, no. We told mommy. Mommy said 8. So if daddy does not go to want to confirm from mommy, why did she change 7 to 8? And just decide in his mind, this woman who have just said something and then she went behind me to go and agree with the children differently because she wants to appear like the good person while they see me as a bad person. So it means that there is no unity among the parents in this situation. So those kind of things, when children dictate that kind of disunity among parents, they can apply manipulating the parent, and unity will not be found in that kind of family. All right. So we should always try to have a united front, working as a team before the children. Let me have the next slide. Our time is fast spent. Let me run through this slide. So the relationship between parents affect children. Yes, I have already said most of these ones in the first place. So parents, as much as we're also talking about discipline the children, there's a lot of things that happen at home when parents themselves do not have good relationship. So this is discipline aside now. So the relationship between you and your spouse has a way of leaking through the behavior of your children. All right. So it's some kind of emotional insecurity that happen if children senses that their parents are not at peace with each other. So as much as we're trying to discipline our kid, we need to see that our own relationship is healthy. All right. So children like to see when their parents seem to love each other. They like to see when their parents respect each other. And naturally, that begins to flow in their own lives as well and among them as siblings. So this is the home front, the good relationship between couple. Sometimes naturally on its own, just shapes, it shapes the environments of the family with peace and harmony. And you have children who are reacting less. If you see most home where husband and wife are always fighting and always quarreling, just watch how the behavior of those children are, because those things affect the children. They begin to throw tantrum. And if you need to discipline them, you as a parent and as an adult, we should show example of good behavior first. So by not being able to manage our own emotion as adults, what do we have to teach the children? we will have little or nothing to teach them. So it's really important that we try to keep our own relationship with our spouses healthy. All right. Okay. Okay, my slide is out now. I was going to move to the next slide. Trying to rush through just an hour teaching. Okay, supporting the entire family. All right, so this is the second part of this teaching. Say supporting mothers and the children. So why did we choose mother here? Because mother is that invisible labor at home, the one that carries everybody's, emotional labor. The mother is one that sees to the children. Yes, God has given us the strength to multitask and do so many things at the same time. But in all of those things, we do caregiving, planning the meal, what is finishing, home management, emotional. You're managing your own emotion. You're managing your in-laws. We're managing your husbands. You're teaching. There's household responsibility. In case you don't have a help at home, like some people who are in Nigeria can afford to have a help. But if you are living in a country where you don't have a help, you are the driver, you are the cook, you are the everything at home. So mothers, and you see, go to work and come back. So mothers need support. When a mother is strong, most time emotionally, the home front will be strong too, because her feelings, how she feels, reflects in everybody's character at home. If you have a mother who is always tired, you will see children who are always cranky, because we are so tired, you don't have the time for them. You don't have time to play with them when they want to. You don't have time to bond and spend with them. So as a mother, we have to also try to involve our husbands. I know sometimes in African system, it seems as if the job of child raising is just left for us to do. Some fathers will say once they have gone to work and come back and provide, they've done their own part of the job. So the rest is left for the mother to do. So fathers and family members should actively participate in parenting and home responsibility. Why is that? Please find a help if you need. If you're in Nigeria, for example, a place where you can get help, even if you're not in Nigeria, if you're in Western country, find a way to liaise with some people, some friends, church members, and people you can trust to help you at the time when you need that help. Because you need to have some rest to mothers emotionally. You need to create what we call me time. So that me time has to be communicated to the children. They need to understand that mommy also is a human being. Mommy is not a machine. So this need to be, caring for mothers is honestly not luxury, because if a mother invests in resting her mind and her body, it is the family that will benefit from it eventually, because she'll be strong to be able to keep pouring to other members of her family. We cannot run with an empty cup, the way we always say. So you have to fill up your cup first, because there's so much work to do. As long as you're a mother in a home, all of the things I have to do are sometimes more of emotional than physical. They can be really draining if we don't get refuel. So I remember when many years ago, when my children were little, I was living alone with them in England. Daddy wasn't with us. But sometimes I'll be so tired, and the way I would just lie down in the bed and just trying to pick up myself first before moving on to the next thing to do. My little son then will walk up to me and say, "Mommy, you look so tired. Can I massage you?" And I say, "Please, my son." You say, where is paining you? Can I massage your leg? Even with his little hands that was not doing much. But the father, he recognizes that I looked tired, and I'm also agreeing that I need to be massaged. He's telling him that this mommy too, with all that she has to do, drive us here, drive us there, do this and do that, cook and do. She is still a human being. So it's important that we communicate to our children, no matter how little they are, you might think they don't understand. They really do understand, those kids. Bring them. Oh, mommy has me time now. Within this time to this time, I don't want anyone. You find one of them and give them the task to coordinate the others just for that period of time that you need to rest. Okay, that you need to rest. And if your children have grown, if they are not within that age that they are still very little, find a time for yourself. Give yourself a time. Go to spa. Go to cinema, watch movie, buy popcorn, sit down there. Have a guilt-free retreat for yourself. The children will be all right. If your parents are still alive, take the children to them. Get a trusted hand to take care of them just for a few hours, and go and just get some life. You will come back a better person. And sometimes you don't even have to travel out of your city where you are. If you agree with your husband, he can, if he's a hands-on type, he can take care of the children, and you step out somewhere and go and lodge somewhere for a night. Have good sleep and just binge on movie. Order food. Just do something to take you away from that environment where you are always giving off yourself all the time. Because when a mother is strong emotionally, it is the family. It is a family that will still benefit at the end of the day. So it's not something you are doing just for yourself alone. You need to be strong to come back to keep pouring on the people that you love. Okay, let's have the next slide. Teach children to give love too. Yeah, so I have touched part of this too. Children also need to learn to give love. Okay, so it's not always parents, and when we fail to teach them to give this love, is how children grow up becoming very entitled. All right, so they grow up becoming really, really, really not recognizing that what you're doing, you can choose not to do it. I was telling one young boy that I counseled recently how lucky he is that his mom is doing what he's doing for him. And he was like, isn't she the mother? Isn't it what she's supposed to be doing? I mean, she also takes pride when we do well, and she can tell everybody that her kids are schooling abroad. I said, well, yes, that's true, but also, you do know that she could as well have also sent you to a local school here. There are reasons why she decided you should go abroad to school. Have you asked her? Has she explained that to you? And that is also something that we parents do not do. We need to carry the children along sometimes in the decisions we make so that they will understand. You know, we complain a lot about children feeling very entitled. Sometimes they're entitled because they are looking around. They don't understand things we do, why we do them. So with that, they will just assume that is their right as a child. I know of an auntie who is a grandmother now. She has 5 children. And she told her children, if I have to come and babysit for any of you, if the standard price for babysitting is, let's say, $50 per hour, I'm collecting 20. I am not babysitting anybody's child for free. And they were looking at her, mommy, now, are they not your own grandchildren? She said, yes, they're my grandchildren. That's why I've cut it down. That's why I gave you $30 discount. So there are people who, and indeed, her children went negotiating with her, and she meant it. She stood her ground. They went negotiating with her, and then sometimes they came down to something that was less than 20. But she said this is her work now. She's unemployed, but this is that she's going to write her CV. Is a career for her now. And she's a widow, so she has to find somewhere to work. So because she's a grandmother, she's giving them this discount. So sometimes I tell people this: the fact that you are a mother, or the fact that you're a parent, there are some things that you are doing that you may not. If you don't do it, nobody is going to cut your throat. Most of the children you see selling along the road on traffic, they are people's children too. They have parents. Okay, so my point here is that we should teach our children. We should bring them to realities of life, just so that we can avoid them having this feeling of entitlement. They need to see how other children who are not like them are sometimes. Sometimes that will be the whole message that they need to to know. Okay. I used to watch a program in the UK so many years ago that says, I think, how the other half live. It's just a program where children who are born in the Western world, sometimes their parents send them to somewhere in Africa to spend a week or two in a family. They have a kind of exchange of family of children going to each family, spend some 2 weeks and then go back. When those ones go back, come back home, it kind of gives them some kind of reset in their brain because they see how other children live, and then they can learn gratitude by just living it, not just by saying it. We need to also teach and model to our children how to say thank you, how to show kindness, model it, not just saying it, how to speak respectfully, how to care when parents are tired or hurting. Children should be able to look at the expression of their parents' faces and say, "Oh, mommy, don't look yourself today. What is the matter? Are you okay? Who annoyed you? Is it daddy? Okay, who spoke to you?" Or maybe they might hear you raise your voice on the phone and then come later and ask something like, "Mommy, who was that? It didn't sound like your normal self on that phone. Who was upsetting you?" So those kind of things are things we should also teach our children. And where there is no love, believe me, you cannot teach that. If you have children who constantly fear you, who constantly are afraid of you, even when you start backing, because they already use your backing anyway, everybody takes off. If you're all in sitting room and you start the usual back, everybody departs and maybe puts on their earphone, depending on their age, and disappear to their rooms. All right. So parents are not machines. Children need to learn that, however age they are. In fact, the earlier we start, the better, so that it begins to register inside of them. Children need to learn that love is sometimes we give as well as we also need to receive. Okay, so it's not only parents that need to be giving. We need to teach them to also give back. So if you begin to learn it early, it becomes ingrained inside them. Next slide, please. Next slide. We're almost finishing. All right. What's that? Please, can you expand that so I can see that? Okay, understanding the inherited parent pattern. Yeah. So in fact, this one should have been the first or the second slide. So in parenting, we also need to understand that parenting is not only, there are things that we bring into parenting. Okay. There are things we bring into parenting. Most times, how we are parented is how we parent. We parent more from memory before we begin to learn this thing we call intentional parenting. So some of us, the way we are parented, we think, oh, well, we turned out right. Well, I can repeat what was done to me, to my own children. But it all depends. If you feel your parents didn't fully try, the aim here is not to blame parents, really. We say this all the time, that parents did their best, okay, within how much they knew to do. So the aim is not to blame them, but it's for us to sit down and tell ourselves the truth and evaluate our own parenting, because definitely, however we are parenting is going to leak into how we parent our own children. So most people will usually start from what they already know. Okay, most of us started from what we know, how it was with us and our parents, before we begin to learn, this thing is called intentional parenting everyone is talking about now. And it is the best thing you can ever do as a parent, to learn to parent intentionally. So we can repeat what experience we had growing up, whether it's healthy or unhealthy, because it is what is familiar to us. Okay, so we need to constantly, parents, sit down and reflect in our parental journey. It's not a one-time thing. It's a continuous learning. Okay, it's something we have to learn continuously, because patterns, we have to be deliberate about breaking patterns. If it's not one that is good, if it's not one that made you flourish as a child, if it's the one that makes you and your sibling to look back in regret, or if the one that really affected you emotionally, or if affected how you grew up, affected you as a person, you need to be very deliberate at breaking those patterns. Otherwise, you see yourself treating your children the same way. All right. So we need to say, but we most time most parents, most African people say we turned out right. The way they did this, they didn't break us. But we need to be honest with ourselves, honestly. If that thing we call turning out right was really good. Earlier on, I started talking about differentiating discipline and punishment. So in sometimes those turning out right was the harsh discipline that was used on us, while we grew up. But that was what our parents knew. So that was what they did. So we know better now. We intend to do better in Jesus' name. Okay. So we need to sit as parents at all times and ask ourselves whether love was really, openly expressed in the home that we grew up, whether the discipline meant to teach or was it meant to control at the time we were growing? Did we feel emotionally safe as a child? That is so, so important, to feel emotionally safe as a child. Was communication healthy at home, or was it fear-based? A lot of things was done out of fear as children as we're growing up. We don't want to repeat such patterns. We don't want to carry those patterns. In fact, it won't even work for the children of these days. It will not even work, even if you try to, because these ones, some of them, they came out of the world already know what they came to. Before you even say one, they have given you, they have followed it up with so many questions. Okay. We didn't have those parents who really apologized to us. But now we find ourselves apologizing to our children. It's not a weakness. It is because we know better. So the idea of reflecting as a parent is something that will improve our learning to discipline in love. So the idea of reflecting. So we need is something we need to do from time to time. Whenever something within you, happen in your family, within you and your child, you sit and reflect. Where did I go wrong? What have I not done right? And sometimes call your children together and even ask them. There are some questions you should ask your kids about your parenting and some things you have done, and just hear from them. Because they are the ones that need to give you the feedback for you to know how you're doing, whether, to also know where you need to improve and where you don't need to improve. If you have raised them in confidence and in this love and discipline we'll be talking about, they will speak to you without fear. They will give you the answers that you need that will also help you improve, as a parent. And the final slide, I think, I'm rushing now. The time is almost here. I think the final slide, the next one, please, are you there? All right. So to say that breaking unhealthy cycle and building better lives. Yes. So this is what we are aiming at. Okay. So I have talked earlier how we came from a place where, there was usually excessive criticism. Parents didn't even know the effect of those things they were doing, to children at the time. There was a lot of emotional neglect. Some people even used to keep malice with their children. For weeks, days, they haven't spoken to their kids. At the time, they didn't know what this meant to their heart. There were harsh punishments. Those years, we see here stories like somebody puts pepper on a cane to flog a child. I've even heard somebody cut small razor blades to put on. There were some horrible things we heard. And all of these things were said to be in the name of discipline because the child did this. Therefore, and they also the one about putting pepper in someone's, private parts. These were stories that we heard all over the place. And for them, these things were discipline. We can't go back to those places anymore because these are dehumanizing. We can't even do that now. One might be arrested if we do things like this. Children were mostly silenced. They're not allowed to communicate. They lived in fear. There was fear to make mistake, and a lot of respect were mistaken. A lot of fear were mistaken for respect. Adults, when you don't respect them, when you don't fear them, they think you don't have respect. So these are things. A lot of children in the past lived on surviving childhood. And that's why you hear children say, I just can't wait to be 18. Because for us, 18 is like you have become that adult. Some just couldn't wait for you to be university, for them to just escape home. Those who never went to boarding school just couldn't wait, for you to be university, to get to university age and just disappear from home, because home was harsh. Home was not where there was love. Home was where discipline was mistaken. for what it shouldn't be. So the goal for us, is to sincerely ask ourselves at all times, if the kind of parenting method I am using, does it build trust? Because if your child can't trust you, they're having confidence all over the place, but when something happened to them, you're the last to know, or you may never even know until it becomes a huge problem. Does it teach them wisdom or produce fear? Am I correcting from love and reacting from unresolved pain? Sometimes it's something inside of us that we haven't healed that we are using to met on the children. So today we're determined to break unhealthy cycle, all right? Unhealthy cycle of discipline, punishment looking like discipline. And we need to improve in our parenting by communicating right, seeking mentorship when we don't know. The last time, for the past few weeks, we have been seeing Mamo, series with her children. And it was a very raw video where the kids were the one giving feedback on things. If you haven't seen it, I will encourage you to see some of those things. So parenting is a journey. It's a journey that we'll have to constantly, embark on. Read good books, listen to seminars, buy parenting courses if you have to. There's nothing to be ashamed of on it. There are people who have taken their time to study these things, to study the psychology of children and how all of these things work. Is to help us, to do it better. So gentle parenting but firmer parenting. All right. We need to be gentle, but we also need to be firm. So that firmness is where love and discipline meet. All right. Is where love and discipline meet. You're like telling a child, don't touch that thing. And when you say, let me say his name is Dio. You say, Dio, don't touch that. That is one shortest example of being firm. And when a child hears that, they know that mommy is serious. When my children were little, when I need to firm up in my words, I will call their name with their surname, and then they will know, something is wrong somewhere. The one that answers Nene, when I say, Chinenye Oge Evans, don't step out of that door. So whenever there's surname coming together, coming them in a very formal way, they will know, okay, oh, this is a no-go. The mommy is really not taking this, is really not having it. So our children need to identify our firm voice. You have to build your firm voice so that they will know that, you see here, once mommy gets to this point or daddy gets to this point, you must not cross that boundary. So the aim is to create boundary. And I'll close by saying this. Parents, we need to check in ourselves to see if there's something we haven't yet healed from how we're parented. Because we often talk about bleeding our pains on people who have not wounded us. These things are real. It is real in psychology and learning these things. They are always the pains of whatever your parents may have. You need to sit with that pain. You need to name those pain. I need to find ways to heal. You can heal either therapy. You can heal with the word of God. The word of God itself heals. Or you can consult someone who is in that field to help you heal. Because when a parent heals, if you heal and change from something that is hurting you, instead of bleeding it on your children, the new emotional direction you will have is going to change entire generation. I'll take that again. For any healed parents, anyone parenting from a place of healing, a place where they have already healed, will have a new emotional renewal that is going to change direction in the entire generation. So which meant what it is that you have, the new you now, you're going to use it to parent your children, and your children will parent their children in that way. And love and discipline is spreading, is already deposited in a generation of people. Thank you very much, sisters, for taking time to listen to me. Please, if you have any question, let me see. If you have any question, I know our time is a little bit spent, but I think I should be able to take one or two questions.
Thank you so much.
One or two questions if you have
hear
any.
me?
Yes, I can.
All right. Thank you so much. I think, ladies, I think we should have our chat should really be buzzing with a lot of emojis and comments. Really, this is really being a. I think somber is this. It's a solemn one, and it's very fitting for the times that we're in. There's so much going on around
Mm,
and with children that it's soul searching conversation. It's a heartwarming conversation, and it's something that we really need to digest and take to heart. So thank you so much, Sonia. I think I've learned a lot. Um, I would
mm,
even ask sisters, what's your takeaway from this? What did you learn? Perhaps you can put it in the comments as well while we wait for any questions. Right. But just to, I think, highlight some of the things that have been said, so far. And really you came through with a lot of experience. I think your experience really came through. Um it's like sitting down and listening to you know, your own mother or maybe your grandmother speaking from experience. My mom
mm.
always says that what a child will see standing on top of a tree, an adult will see sitting down, that kind of thing. So
Yeah,
it
true.
felt like that was the place from which you were speaking. So thank you so much for sharing with us. So what I've taken quite
Mm,
a few things that there must be balance between love and discipline. I think that was the starting point, that a lot of
absolutely.
what we
Yeah.
call discipline or what we have been told, what we probably experienced was punishment, really,
Punishment. Yeah.
without discipline. And the difference, really, and I think I just understood this today. The difference between punishment and teaching is that in punishment, there's no learning, there's no growth, there's no understanding, right? So the child might be flogged and they will cry and all of that, but they don't really understand what has happened. And the likelihood of
Yeah.
repeating nothing is higher because of that, right? So but with discipline, there's explanation, there's teaching, there's understanding,
Yeah.
right? You have increased the child's level of knowledge and understanding to be able to make better choices,
True.
within their
Yeah.
capacity, even as they're growing. So really, thank you so much for sharing that. We also said something that anger usually brings about punishment. So I think for us, and I know we've heard this before, but dealing with our children is necessary to emotionally regulate and not respond or react
Mm,
out of anger, because more often than not, it will lead to punishment, which is no learning taking
mhm,
place, and like they will say, work done equals to zero. Then you talked about
mm.
partnership. Parents should work as a united team, discuss privately,
Yeah.
agree, understand your own personality first. I think that's an also
Yeah.
very important one. I have a question on that, Sha, but let me wait on let me wait for others. You also stressed that
Mhm.
tension
Yeah.
between partners is absorbed by the children. Can even begin to think that perhaps it's their fault. And that was very interesting because I was talking to a young lady yesterday in her 30s, right? She's a child, her parents are divorced, and she was the last child in the family. So she said, while the
Mm,
others were not in the house, she was in the house. So she kind of saw their relationship degenerate up until the point that
mm,
they got divorced. So this is she's the youngest in
mm,
the family, but from what I gather, she had more of the experience of the issues within the parents, and she's like, it's good that they divorced. And I thought to myself, wow, And what I told her was that,
mm.
you have a unique perspective that not a lot of people have. It will be useful to distill your experiences into a resource, into learning material, sharing it with others, perhaps kids that are going through that as well, or just letting parents know that this is
Yeah.
this is what it feels like, right? From a child's perspective, so that they can actually know. Anyway,
Yeah.
it that resonated with me. You also talked about tired mother. I wrote here, tired mother equals cranky house. Like, yeah,
Mhm,
that
mhm.
yeah, totally accept that. And so we should learn to, or try as much as possible to involve fathers and really other family members as much as possible, right? And not
Yep.
try and not carry things alone, let me see. As parents, we need to understand our patterns. It was a very, very strong one. We need to understand our patterns, understand if there are any wounds or trauma, and heal from them so that we do not inadvertently bleed on our children. So, like, a lot of people say, I turned out okay, I turned out okay. In fact, I loved it when you said
Mm.
that. But most people survived.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most people
Survival.
survived their
Survival
childhood.
silence.
They didn't,
Yeah.
it wasn't a growing experience. they grew in terms of body, or they did, but they didn't actually grow
Mhm.
emotionally, and having to do that
Mm.
in adulthood, and they think that that's normal. So, and I think where you ended really is parenting is a never-ending journey, and healing and learning, continues, and it's really a strong part of
Yep.
that, particularly the learning. We should try and balance the gentle and firm parenting, which is where love and discipline intersect and come in. Ensure we have a firm voice and really try to look at ourselves, be introspective, and try and ensure that we are healing really, or we're healed from um, any traumas that we might have had growing up. So thank you very much. I think
Oh,
very
that was a good
introspective.
capture.
Something. Thank
That
you.
was a
But it
good
was really a
capture.
lot to take away. Because
Mhm.
I was just reflecting on, my own experiences, reflecting on conversations, because I have a lot of conversations with people these days based on what I do. And really their childhood always comes into play one way or the other. So it's really
Mhm.
important for us who are right now in the position of ancestors, whether we like it or not. Well,
Yeah,
somebody's
true.
ancestor now, I don't know my cookies today.
Exactly.
Yeah, so how will you be remembered? How will you be, how will your time be written? And what impact will that have on your descendants? Yeah, so thank you very much. Yes, indeed, our time is fast spent. So I really will just appeal to our ladies. I don't know if anyone has any questions. There are a couple that I have. Maybe I'll just ask one or two, and then we can sure, I just want to check the chat to see if there are any questions. None so far. Okay, so I have a couple, if that's okay.
All
Let's
right.
take
Okay.
one or
I also
two
received
because I find that
I received a question.
okay,
Sorry. Yeah, I received
fantastic.
the question earlier when I privately
Okay.
when I posted this out. So I decided to write it
Awesome.
down and answer it,
No,
before this. So I'm
thank you.
just
That's
going to read it
super.
out. So it might help some people. So what do you do when you are torn as a mother? You are torn between your husband and your child. Let's say your husband
Mm,
refuses to understand that a child is right by the situation at
mm.
hand, but he's bent on being obeyed at all costs. I don't know. Was that clear? Should I repeat the question?
Yes, I understand the question.
Okay. All
What
right. So,
you can repeat it. I understood it, but please go ahead and repeat it, and then yeah.
okay. So there's an issue going on at home. A child, I mean, I want to believe is a child who is within a reasoning age, has something to resolve with the parents. So the mother understands where the child is coming from, and she is actually right. But daddy hasn't yet come to the
Mm,
understanding, and he's insisting that, the child has to do it in his way, you know. And
yeah.
as a mother, you are not caught between, do you
Mm.
have to go for and this has
Can
come to cause a
can I
very
can I
big,
add on to
I'm
that
sure this is,
question? Can I add
I'm
on to
sure
that
some
before
of
you
us
ask?
will be familiar with this at home. So what do you do as a mother? I mean, you that is now caught in
Mm,
between this. Are
is there
you
any
to take sides? Yes, you can go ahead, sister. Oh, we've lost you again. We've lost you again. Okay, so while we're waiting for you to come on, I think I will go ahead
or the
to
father is insisting
oh,
on old
okay.
school, all in all kind of parents. You can't do that, but it's in this modern age. So it's a minute.
Yes, yes, we
Okay.
can.
Yes, I was just
We can.
saying this thing was that,
Oh, we've lost you again. We've lost you again. All right. Okay, so that while we're waiting for her to come back on, so I'm just going to say, so if you are the person in that situation who sent me this private message, honestly, this is a very sensitive one, as it's touching it touches an area of authority, emotional safety of the child, and then the marriage dynamics. So I would want to believe that there's something going on, there's some kind of lack of agreement between the husband and wife involved here. So that's why, and then we also have to think about the well-being of the child that is in the middle of all of this. So as a mother who this has rested on her legs, sister, are you back? Okay. We're waiting for
Yes,
you.
yes.
All right. So as a mother who this thing is now, the ball now is on her court. I believe that the child is right, but the daddy is yet to come, to come on board to understand why insisting that as the head of the home, he has to be believed. I mean, he has to be obeyed. A lot of wisdom is needed, in handling this situation, because what we want here is balance. Balance in the sense that we don't want father feeling disrespected by both the mother and the child, and not to even create further division between the parents. But you try as much as possible to protect, the unity in the family, because things like this can cause a lot of division at home, where father begin to say, oh, you have teamed up with your child or you are teaching this child how to disrespect me. So a mother should kind of avoid publicly disrespecting, dishonoring her husband, okay, the father of the child. So while talking to the child about the situation, you should not, ignore, also should not ignore the fairness in this, because if you know that the child is truly, all you can do is try to find a way to bridge, to calmly help the father to understand. Explain to him in the way he can. In fact, sometimes, if depending on what the issue is, if it requires talking to somebody who that he respects, somebody that he listens to, you can bring that thing to the person to find a way to talk to him. All right. So why still maintaining that the child stays respectful in communicating with the father? Because I know in this kind of situation, respect can go off the window, because the child can get really angry and and want to just lash. So you pray for wisdom, for God to give you wisdom as a mother. The idea is to try to bring daddy to understand, and also tell the child to speak to daddy, not when he's still angry, when he has calmed down. So just keep trying to make him understand. Use everything you can, to keep explaining until he comes to that point of understanding that this whole thing is not to work against him. Nobody's planning anything against him. It's just for him to understand, because the child does not need to learn that. You don't want the child to think that someone who, power should be always be obeyed, whether it's right or wrong. Yes. Because with power now, I'm talking of authority. Daddy being the one with authority, as the head of the home, has power over the family. It doesn't mean that even when he's wrong, he must also be obeyed. No. Where the work here is that we'll have to try as much as possible to explain to him, even if it means going through someone that he listens to, we know that he can listen to. So we can continue to communicate with him respectfully, but the child should understand that, because if we don't handle this carefully, this can suppress that child from learning to speak up, even when the child knows that he's right. What he's saying is right. That thing will eventually come around, but it has to be handled with utmost respect. All right. Yeah, that is what I have to answer if you're here and listening.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you very much. I think very well balanced, and hopefully we can all proceed with grace and and wisdom from God. Yes, so I do
Yeah.
have a couple of questions. I put them in the chat in case I cut out again, but I'll just read them now.
Okay.
And then I think after that we'll close out. So the first question is, in today's world, there are so many different challenges on mental and emotional health. How can mothers build strong communication and trust with teenagers specifically? And the second
Mm,
question is, what are some practical ways to teach responsibility and accountability without creating fear? Yeah.
mm.
Philosophy.
All right. So, creating communication. The first one. How can mothers build strong communication and trust with? All right. So one of the ways of actually building trust is for a parent to learn to be accountable. Like when you say something, you do it. Because this is just how trust, first of all, when trust starts. If you tell your child, I'm going to do this, and then you eventually not do it, don't be quick in making promises. Because sometimes we make promise that circumstance, not because we don't want to keep it, but just circumstances happen and we're unable to keep it. That child may not speak, but is keeping count. So the next time you now say, that's how you said it the other day and you did not, you're already, destroying that trust. When you say, so when we have to hold ourselves accountable, first of all. And we also, the second thing is that we also need to let our children understand that, you see, this age they have been to, we too have passed there. Tell your own stories to your children. Tell your own story when you were that age. And you're telling it with the intention that, whatever mistake they had made, you also got into some kind of trouble with your dad. This was what happened. Or if only you wish you knew better. Those letters that will write, to my 13-year-old self, to my 14-year-old self. So depending on the age the child is, just think back, think back of what you would have told yourself at that time when relating with, you see how excited children get when they hear that, so this almighty mommy that I used to look like she has everything all together. So she has been, there was a time when she was also this kind of, she also did this kind of thing. It kind of connects both of you together at that time. So it also makes the teenage want to come closer to hear more and even tell you when they're. So it's one of the ways of building connection and building trust. You don't come down from that high horse of, I used to always be the first. How parents also they always come first in class. They never come second. So just come down from that high horse and admit you have made mistakes. And these were things you did too when you made those mistakes. And they'll be free to know that, okay, well, it's okay. So we'll have something in common after all. All right, so that is one way to build trust with teenagers. Don't be quick in making promises. When you make promises, make sure that you keep it. All right, yeah. So the second one, what are some practical ways to teach responsibility and accountability without creating fear? Well, fear usually comes from how rather than what is done. So if you need to correct, in fact, parents, I need to say this, stop shouting. Like, I really need to say this. Mummies, this one nice. Most mummies that are guilty of it. Stop shouting. So this is just one of the ways, that this creating fear. Many of us grew up with so much fear. What we call respect for most of our parents is not, Mama said I should tell them. What we call respect, is not, it's actually fear. So we really need to stay accountable. First of all, need to remove that fear. Don't make your child fear you. You yourself, let them see you being a responsible parent, doing those things. Carry them along. Don't always come to their beck and call at all times. Like, don't always be there to pick them up. I mean, don't always do everything for them. Share, chores in the house. If you have, 3 or 4 children, get them responsible, starting from the little they can do. And when they do it, let them come and show that they have done it. I saw something very creative a parent did, which I thought was very brilliant. He wrote a work CV for one of his child. He just wanted the child to help around the house, and he just wrote a CV, and coined it with the kind of words that we use when we're applying for job. Gave some big names to cleaning of table, to dusting of chairs. It just gave you some big names and then wrote the remuneration that will come with it and all of those things, addressed it to the child and gave it to the child. And this child was, and then at the end of every month, there was also appraisal, just the same way they do in the office. This is what you've done. This is how we can get better. And things we're working very seamless at home. So as parents, we also need to get creative in this thing, depending on the kind of person your child is. If you know that your child who is always very goal-oriented, that your child who always wants to act, we know our children, they're all different. And in fact, even when it comes to this discipline, we also need to know their personality. Because the one that you tell face the wall for 3 minutes might not might not take it as much as one that you tell to, to you give some kind of punishment, I mean, some kind of discipline. We just need to know their characters, know their personalities, and know what fit them most. So back to the question, the responsibility without feeling fear. Give them tasks, appropriate age appropriate tasks around the house. Around the house, when they do it, come and commend what they have done. Don't just make it seem like it's just is nothing. If you catch them doing something well, we don't always the problem with us parents is that we always want to catch them when they are doing something wrong. Try to catch them when they are doing something right, no matter how little it is, and commend them on that. And commend them. You see, they would always want to. There's nobody that does not like a pat on the back, even as big as I am. I'm very happy if somebody picks up one good thing I've done and says something good, to me about it. So try to catch your children when they are doing something right, and then commend them on it. There was something I used to do when my kids were little. Sometimes when I was with them, when I come back, if I knew that I needed to rush into the kitchen and get something done, I'll keep my handbag on the staircase, and I used to do it intentionally, just to see who will walk upstairs and still leave that bag there. So at some point, so what I always used to aim is that whoever is the first to go up while I'm still in this kitchen should carry my bag, but I will say it. So over time, over time, they were not doing it, and then I had to communicate with them and say, look at what you're meant to do. This bag is not meant to be here. You should know. I don't need you to expect that this bag is not where it should be. For the fact that you're passing here, you should take it to where it should be. Or you're walking somewhere, you see water on the floor. Don't go screaming, who poured this water? Just go and get mop and clean it, because you know that because you have seen it, the next person coming may not see it and might slip on it and fall. So these are ways of teaching responsibilities and accountability. Don't go screaming, who poured this water? You know that water is not meant to be on that floor. So somebody may have poured it by mistake. Let's just assume. Cleaning, the right thing to do is to make sure this water is no longer here, since you are the one that have seen it, and not to jump it and pass. Kids can also do these kind of things. So these are ways we can teach them responsibility and teach them to be accountable when they, without fear. Catch them doing something right. Commend them on it as much as you can, and give them age appropriate chores around the house. Please, mothers, you are not a machine. Children must know that we're not machine. They need to be involved. They need to be involved. This home thing, we're all in it together. So it has to be a strong message for all of them. Yeah. Is there any more
Fantastic. Thank you
questions?
so much, sis. No,
Mm.
I'm sure we could go on all evening because this is a topic that is it goes around so many different areas, quite multifaceted. But we must bring today's session to a close. It's already 8:30 and I was feeling really bad. So we really want to respect everyone's time. But I think first of all, we must appreciate you so much for giving so much of yourself, from speaking from your heart and from your life, and really sharing these truths with us. I hope that
Mm.
people can reach out to you to ask for more questions, at least within the TOCI family. I hope that would be okay, because I'm certain that
Yeah.
at least
Yeah.
a few people would have some other thoughts and questions they would want to ask. But we really appreciate you for reaching out, for taking the time to prepare, and for delivering it with so much warmth and compassion, I would say. So thank you. We
Mhm.
truly, truly, truly appreciate you. So
Thank
ladies,
you.
let's see the
Kind.
emojis and the appreciation. Thank you so much, sis. Yes.
Thank you,
So I think
sisters,
as
for
we bring
being
today's
here.
session to a close, which we must right now, yes, I hope would love everyone to remember that love and discipline go together. They are designed to work together,
Yeah.
and they are not meant to compete with each other. Love
Mm.
gives children security, and discipline gives them structure. Love says you
Yeah.
matter, and discipline says your choices matter and they have consequences. So both of them are necessary, hand in
Yeah.
hand, or they must work hand in hand, hand in glove, really, to raise our children. So we hope every mother here remembers healthy Healthy children are also raised by mothers, by healthy mothers. Let's heal from any, patterns that are not so great, and learn the tools to be intentional in our parenting, growing and depending on God on a daily basis. Give
Yeah.
ourselves grace, seek help, seek wisdom, and raise our children with both tenderness and truth. Thank you all for coming and for joining us this evening. This will be posted up on the YouTube page for everyone or anyone who's interested to go back and have a listen. I think it's one that is worth listening to over and over again. And happy Children's Day to all of us as children of God.
Yes.
We're
Yeah.
we're we're
Indeed.
we're celebrating the
Indeed.
Children's Day as well, right? So happy Children's
Mm.
Day to us and to our children, and to each one of us that is here, nurturing lives, shaping destinies, and building the next generation. May God bless us all and help us and give us grace to do this
Amen.
according
Amen.
to his purpose and his grace. God bless you all. Please do have a wonderful evening and till we meet again. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank
I
you. Bye-bye.
Yes,
Bye.
happy Children's Day.
Bye, sisters.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Mama. Thank you